Ooh, all right. We are live. Speaking of looking live, I ran into Brett Musburger at ACDC. That was great. Yes. Yes, we are live on YouTube. We are live for a Raider draft recap. Hope everybody's happy with the draft. It looked pretty damn good to me. Hard to complain about that unless you're a complainer. Matter of fact, let me bring up the draft picks. Man, that would be at Raiders.com. They got a big breakdown. Let's bring that up. What's up, Rick Layers? What's going on, man?
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio, your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT, as we get going and kick off a new week on the flagship of the Silver and Black Raider Nation Radio on the Raiders mobile app. Hey, if you're looking at the Raiders mobile app on your phone, in the upper right-hand corner, it says radio. You can't miss it. You got to look a little bit smaller, but it's right there, right in the right-hand corner. And on the YouTube channel, where a lot of people count on me, depending on what happens with their streaming issues, to watch the show live, watch the big shows and the guests and everything that we're doing. And you can do that for free on YouTube. You just got to go to JT the Brick YT. That's our channel. And you subscribe for free and you get everything that we're doing. Plus at night, and the rants and the shorts and the reels. And my son does a lot of work on that. And we're building it, man. We're trying to get to a couple of important milestones coming up here, where we're going to give away a lot more prizes there and give away some things here from the archives. So if you want some gear, if you want some stuff, some cool stuff, please subscribe. And for everybody who's been there from the beginning, thanks a lot as we get going. I went on maybe, Bobby, one of the longest runs I've been on, from Thursday night at the Palms Pool to ACDC Saturday night down in the pit at one point, all the way to Fred Biletnikov's Hall of Fame Golf Classic, where I had a race out of last night to do my nighttime radio show, and I just came up for air this morning. And it was a whirlwind. And first off, I want to thank the Raiders for being involved in everything I was involved with. Wow. What an honor it was to anchor the draft with Eric Allen, to do what we were able to do on YouTube, on the Raiders page, to get the access to the players, Ashton Genty, Geno Smith, to be on stage. If you saw me on stage Thursday night, getting the crowd going, everything was amazing for that, man. I don't take that lightly. All the alumni I got a chance to see was great. And then to be with Fred and Angela Biletnikoff the last 2 days over at Dragon Ridge Golf Club. Thanks to Vinny Bonsignor for filling in for me yesterday. That was incredible, with the 11 or 12 or 13 Hall of Famers that were there, from Raleigh Fingers to Steve Largent, Charlie Joyner, Rod Woodson, Marcus Allen, Jim Plunkett. They have the 3 MVPs of the Super Bowl. We had a nice, big, fun thing with them. And then I got a chance to introduce and get a standing ovation for Eric Allen as he came up on stage as the newest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and took a photo with Freddie, which was pretty cool. So that's what I got. A lot of stories to tell, but I don't want to waste everybody's time today. I got good stories to tell, but I really want to dive in now on your reaction to the draft. And that's the focus of the monologue, brought to you by Golden Entertainment. They fuel the monologue. PTs 5 to 7, midnight to 2. The best happy hour in town, as Bobby just reminded me. The Golden Knights have a big game tonight. Often I've said game 6 is game 7. Because if you don't win game 6, you're probably not going to win game 7. This is game 5. They get it at home. If they don't win this game, I don't see them winning the series. If they win the game, I think they close it out and they move on. And again, every time the Golden Knights advance, we get 2 more weeks of content. So if the Golden Knights don't get out of the first round and the Lakers don't get out of the first round, that's a big chunk. Not a huge chunk with the Lakers, but with the Golden Knights of what I like to do. I like knowing still April? I like knowing that June 2nd It's 105 degrees and my wife and I are Ubering to T-Mobile to go to a hockey game. I'm into that. I want to go out on a Thursday night with my wife and go into a playoff hockey game in June. So it's a big deal for me, man. This is a social thing for me. Passion as a fan, partnership with the Vegas Golden Knights. Massive game tonight. They have to win. Not an elimination game, but it feels like it. I'm telling you, from what I heard from someone very well connected, Minnesota's coming in tonight to look to fight, to look to push the Knights around, to be very aggressive. This game's going to get chippy. It's going to be physical. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone on the Knights has to step up and fight, because I think that's where Minnesota's going to be tonight. So I can't wait to get into that. But the draft for the Raiders. The draft for the Raiders was one of the better drafts I've seen in a decade. And you know what was funny? Who said it to me? Oh, Barry Sims, former offensive lineman, says, well, you tell me that every year. And he laughed at me. I go, no, I actually don't. I didn't tell you about that about Damon Arnett. I didn't tell you about that on certain drafts here. I don't love every draft. I like some of them more than others. And I will admit that being pro-Raiders, not a shock, pro-Raiders is that you want them to do good. And normally after every draft, every team feels pretty good. You know, free agency in the draft, you got new players, got a trade for Geno Smith, brought in Jeremy Chin, got Ashton Genty. I mean, who doesn't feel great today in the Raider Nation? Who doesn't feel unbelievably great in the Raider Nation today, knowing what's happened here since John Spytek and Pete Carroll took over when it comes to player personnel? I mean, you got to feel pretty good about this. If not, man, you are a negative Nelly, man. You are just negative, and you need a break. You should have came on the Raider Cruise with us. We would have made you feel good. We would have circled you and made you feel great. You can't be negative about everything, and you should be pretty excited about what the Raiders did in this draft. So I want to go player by player. I want to dive into some of the storylines, and I want to hear from the Global Raider Nation today. This is when I told Bobby we got a good rest of the week. We got a pretty good rest of the week. Then it gets dicey. Summer, I do summertime radio. I'll do the top 10 this. I'll do some certain things. Here, I got nothing. Until I go to practices, we got nothing. We just have the celebration of the draft and free agency. And then it quiets down a little bit. And then coaches and players go on mandatory vacation. They get out of Dodge before they start in the summer and go to training camp. So days like today, we really want to hear from you and get your reaction in the chat on YouTube or on X at JT the Brick, or you can call us now with what you like about the draft. What we have in our time slot, because I've been doing this triple longer or quadruple longer than most anybody, is we got some callers that have been calling me for close to 30 years. And they're Raider fans, and they pick their spots. Today's a good day to pick your spot on the grade. Across the board, everybody gave the Raiders an A. Everybody. I mean, I went to Fox Sports. I went to Pro Football Focus, Pro Football Talk, NFL.com. The Raiders got glowing reviews for the way they handled the draft, the way they traded back, the players they got. But my analysis is interesting because I believe that the group, which is John Spytek and his staff, and Pete Carroll and his coaches, worked beautifully together. There was no drama. There was no, okay, the coach was in control of the draft instead of the GM, or the other coach, the newer coach, doesn't know anything about personnel, so he's not involved, and you got to count on the GM. None of that here. Everything went beautifully. As Pete Carroll gave you a hint when he got hired and said, Johnny and I are going to work together. There's going to be no confusion. We're all going to agree, and they did it. That's a fact. And if you watched any of the calls, I love the calls when they call the kids. Those are really emotional. I watched every one. And you learn a lot about the kid and the parents and that. All of that went very well. And what else is very unique with this coaching staff? We kept some coaches from the old regime, right? And we have pretty much new coaches. They're going to get a chance to develop these guys. And I look at Pete Carroll at the top of the food chain. He's going to be outstanding of taking the corners and defensive backs who seem to be taller, and stronger and more violent and figure out how to fit them into the system. We all agree on that, right? There's no one better in the sport maybe to do that than Pete Carroll. So he gets a shot to do that. And then on the coaching side, you're going to see the development of the practice squad and the backups at the highest level we've ever seen with Pete Carroll. Highest level we've ever seen. And that's no disrespect to the other coaches. There've been good coaches here that are no longer here, but they don't have the track record of Pete Carroll. So I like that. But the most important thing I like about this draft is the characters of the players. As I read the bios, as I interviewed, I was sitting here interviewing Ashton Genty. Bobby reminded us we'll play that today. Ashton Genty, oh my God. Dad's was a Navy guy. Mom's a teacher. The guy sat in front of Eric Allen and I and blew us away. That doesn't happen all the time. We were blown away. What a gentleman. What a fine young man. What a great guy to build your organization around. You better get it right. You took him 6th overall, but he seems to be the player that the Raiders wanted. And it was a great selection for the Silver and Black because they got a need. They got a need and the best available player. That's hard to do. Oh, and believe me, I'm going to get into Shador today. I got a lot to say on Shador. A lot. And I said it last night as I was back on the air nationally. I got a lot to say on Shador today. That kid got screwed. That kid got defaced. That kid and his family got embarrassed of epic proportions. And don't tell me he deserved it. Do not. No domestic violence, no drugs, no alcohol. Genuinely a good kid his whole life. But I did speak to people yesterday at the Hall of Fame Golf Classic on the record, but a few off the record that told me some things I weren't aware of about Shador. And I'll put that into the show a little bit later on. So you had that backdrop of the noise of Shador. Raiders didn't have any noise. It was beautiful. It was unbelievable. Now, when they traded back in the second round and I was in the building, I said to myself, oh boy, they're losing out on a lot of really good players. In fact, when you trade back, there are players that are going to get drafted that are better than the players you're going to draft. They're just better players. But they did it for a reason. Their draft board was so tight. They knew that there were going to be players that they could get, and they wanted to move back and get extra players. And I think they were fantastic on that. I really did. I think they were really good on that. Because you know me, I don't like to trade back. I like to just take the pick. But I think they're looking long-term, and they did a nice job with that. Really good job by John Spytek. Hey, let me ask you this, Raider Nation. Did it look like John Spytek, that was his first rodeo? No. John Spytek in complete control of that war room, really following the plan. And I had people in that war room and people that I know, and it was run smoothly at the highest level. So all of it went well. And you should all be commenting on that draft. Who's your favorite player in the draft so far? This best kid is unbelievable, the wide receiver out of TCU. His brother was killed during the terrorist attack in New Orleans, his brother Tiger. I walked by his brother's memorial. I walked right by it over the Super Bowl and looked for it because I knew who Tiger Besh was from Princeton and his backstory. I didn't think his brother was coming to the Raiders. This might be the most popular Raider draft pick in decades because of who the kid is and what he went through. Can't you wait to take this kid under your arms and protect him and want him to be your player because he lost his brother in a terrorist event? Like, who's not pulling for this kid? I thought that pick, and then I looked at the videos of him, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy was on LSU, and he was putting up numbers that were equal, if not better, in games with Neighbors and some of the great players that they had. So I looked at all of that in general, and I said, man, this is good. We got some good players here. And then when I had the time over the weekend, I went pick by pick. I watched videos and the bio. Darian Porter, the cornerback from Iowa State. 6'2", another long one. He runs an official 4.3 40 dash at the combine. I watched the player profile. Raiders have all this up at Raiders.com. I would suggest everybody look at it. And then I went and watched his call and what he was able to do. Caleb Rogers, the offensive lineman out of Texas Tech, played a lot of big games and big snaps. And he was taken, and he's a monster. And that guy's going to play. I don't know who he's going to beat out, but they took him in the top 100 because he's proven Then they took another tackle out of William and Mary, Charles Grant. And I said, William and Mary, what kind of competition did he play against? I looked at his profile and some of the video there. Another mountain of a man. But then my favorite pick of the draft clearly was Dante Thornton Jr., the wide receiver out of Tennessee. 6'5", 205. Did you see his highlight package? It's nuts. And we got the big, tall guy that you can throw in the red zone and throw him a high-pitched ball to a target, and he can go up and get it. Really, a fraternity brother of mine from college lives in Knoxville. He's a season ticket holder. I couldn't hang up the phone. I couldn't hang up. He wouldn't let me off the phone for 30 minutes about this kid and how good he is. Raiders got him in the 4th round. So they got 2 big receivers, physical, who can block downfield. Talk to Fred Biletnikoff, and you remember Mike Ciani. Mike Ciani told me, he goes, yeah, JT, these guys can block for Ashton Genty downfield. Do you understand the athleticism of Bowers and Dante Thornton and Besh? That if they're not running a route, they know in their mind they're blocking for Ashton Genty as tight ends and receivers, what they're going to do to annihilate and chip linebackers and knock cornerbacks on their ass. All we need, Raider Nation, is Genty to pop outside and get an 11-yard gain, then cut back inside, and these guys are running downfield taking people's heads off. I didn't expect that in the draft. I didn't think they were going to get those guys. Dante Thornton Jr. in the 4th round? That's a 2nd-round grade. Oh, then again, Shador had a 1st and 2nd-round grade. He went in the 5th round. Oh, you can tell I want to get into Shador, don't you? I'm going to get to that. And then later on in the draft, Tonka Hemingway, they get another defensive tackle. Look, the Raiders like defensive tackles. They love this NASCAR package. You got Tonka. You got Christian Wilkins. You got Tyree Wilson. You got Malcolm Kuntz. You got Max Crosby. Anybody paying? Adam Butler re-signed. I mean, the front looks pretty good. This guy played at a very high level, and he's a developmental guy, but he's got some skill. JJP, as I call him, who's a running back defensive tackle who carries the ball for touchdowns. Wow, look at his draft video. That's nuts. And then what they did with Tommy Mellott at the end from Montana State, the quarterback, and how they can morph him into a dual threat. And then more and more people are blowing up my phone about Cam Miller, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. Watch his video if you're going to watch anybody's, and how nuts he was in college, and how they'll be able to maybe develop him as a quarterback. And a lot of people, I talked to one individual, said that guy can play in this league in 2 to 3 years. He's going to be a good piece for the Raiders, but the Raiders will park him and develop him. So all of the undrafted free agents, I have the list here. I'm not going to dive into the undrafted free agents today. But I will tell you, in light at times, I say, we're not the show of the practice squad. This is a pretty good practice squad. Raiders are going to have to work to keep some of these guys, to keep them away from other teams. I think there's now some depth here that we haven't seen in a while. There's some draft depth that we haven't seen in a while. I thought they drafted so well that not everybody's going to make the team. You know, not everybody makes the team, especially the undrafted free agents. But there might be a undrafted free agent who's looking to take a job from a draft pick. That's how good this was. So it was well done. You can call me a homer or whatever. Now I'm numb to that, so I could give a crap. I just want the Raiders to win at all costs. And I think what they're doing, building this roster, is putting them on the map to do that. So I liked everything about the draft. I thought the draft was exceptional. It was an A grade across the board. For those who want to knock that down and say, well, it's going to take 2 to 3 years to figure it out. It better not. It better take week 5 to figure this out. To see Thornton on the field with Besh and Brock and Jacoby Myers, and to see the substitution pattern with these wide receivers. You're going to take 2 kids out of college who are oversized, tall, and tough, who are wide receivers who don't drop the ball, make plays, and are beast. But are you going to not dress them? These guys are going to play. Okay, you're going to get them in the game, and they're going to come in as blockers or guys who can catch the ball. Can you imagine what Geno Smith can do if he's got Thornton and Besh in? And I don't think maybe they probably won't be on the field at once, but Bowers is out there with Jacoby and Trey is wide, and Ashton Genty's in a single back set with Geno. I mean, I think more and more people should be talking about this. The Raider offense has significantly changed in 1 month. And I think a lot of it has to do with Pete Carroll, who told John Spytek, look, I don't want to wait. I'm here to win. I was winning all the time as a coach. Let's get a team together that I can win with. Now, do I think they still got holes? I think they would still be, they got a lot of money left. Oh my God, see all those articles today? 40 plus million available. Could they go out and get Jalen Ramsey? Absolutely they could. No doubt about it, they could get Jalen Ramsey. Could they get other players? Yeah. There's free agents out there. They got money to spend. That's a pretty good thing. But I like what happened. I like the way they went about the draft. I like the lack of noise. I love everybody around the league respecting what this group is doing with the Raiders. Yeah. All of this in general is positive. But the media pundits, and I can't argue anymore because I didn't think the Raiders would lose 10 in a row last year. I didn't have that. I didn't think they would. I didn't think they would make the playoffs, but I didn't think they'd be as bad as they were last year. A lot of the media pundits, I looked at power rankings today. Some of these knuckleheads have got the Raiders ranked 28th out of 32, 26th out of 32, because they won't believe it until they see it. Yeah. So where's the Raider Nation today? I've been off for a couple of days. No call since Thursday. Anybody want to talk to me today and get this thing moving? We're not a podcast. We're a live interactive radio show. 702-365-9200. Chris in West Oakland kicks off our week. How are you, Chris? What'd you think?
Hey, JT, actually, I was pretty happy for the first draft in quite a while. We're not sitting here scratching our heads about what we didn't get or reaching for that pick like a Cleveland Farrell or an Arnett. And I know Bowers fell to us last year, but last year's draft was dominated by us not getting a quarterback. What I saw this year, JT, is, like you said, a well-executed game plan, a front office that worked in unison together, clearly has a game plan. The improvement's going to be incrementally. It's like you said, Pete Carroll's fingerprints are all over this. I like the depth. I'll get to Genty in a second. I'm not going to belabor all the, your 5th, 6th, 7th round pick that I don't claim to know that much about. But like the cornerback they got, 4.3 speed, 6'3", long arms. That's a Pete Carroll guy. I love the defensive lineman's athleticism that carries the ball. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and give the draft a grade on a Tuesday in April. I like the need. Well, if this team gets 2 or 3 starters and another 2 or 3 players that are big time contributors, then it's been a great draft. But for the first time in a long time, JT, I saw a team that went to work, workmanlike, nothing crazy, no big splashes, a front office that actually knew what the hell they were doing, and they've got a plan. I'm not going to predict this team's going to go from 4 wins to 11 or 12, but we're in a better place, a much better place this year than we were at the same time last year. I would have, and again, I'm going to get to Genty in 1 second. I would have liked to see them move up. I love Jackson Dart. I like first-round talent, but maybe the team just didn't see it. They didn't want to. I'm not holding my breath on Cam Miller. Maybe he becomes something. Maybe he's not. I would have liked to have taken a shot at a guy like Dart. That being said, we've got a better quarterback this year than we did last year. And Ashton Genty, like you said, it's that rare time when one of your biggest needs is also right there for you in the draft and the best available player. This kid can turn this offense around. As I've said on many occasions, I don't think Geno Smith's elite, but I think he's really, really good. But if this kid turns out to be anywhere near Ashton Genty, what we think we are, then all of a sudden, say, Geno Smith can maybe jump from a top 12 or 13 quarterback to a top 7 or 8 just by what the running game can provide. So again, for the first time in a long time, JT, I'm very happy with this draft. I don't know what it means in terms of wins and losses. I'm not to say no. I'm pretty certain we're going to win more than 4 games next year. Not ready to say they're going to go out and win 10, but this organization, based on the draft and what I see with the front office and the new ownership group, is clearly moving in the right direction. Not a lot of fanfare. Just put your head down, go to work, and make this team better. So come November and Thanksgiving, we're not complaining again every year for a lost season. Things are looking up, JT. Let's keep moving in the right direction. Oh, one more thing. Always love any show you can get a great Mike Ciani reference. Talk to you later, brother.
Yeah, it was good yesterday with Mike Ciani and Phil Villapiano and Rod Woodson and Eric Allen and all the people that showed up. John Taylor, the legendary 49er for the first time. Just a good day we had there yesterday, and everybody seems pretty optimistic about the draft. That opens up a line for you. Some days, Bobby, I think people wait for Chris to call in at the end of the monologue because they don't want to go ahead of him or they don't want to call after him because they don't think they can top that. Everybody is welcome. Your opinions matter to me. 702-365-9200. They just look like they're super organized. And every year you go into the war room. The owner's there, the president of the team, the scouts, whoever's there, the coaches, and they all look organized. Everyone's dressed nightly. They have their board. The board normally doesn't shock anybody. But when you have a plan for the type of player that you want to be new Raiders, it's under Pete Carroll. He wants bigger, lankier, longer defensive backs, and then you get them. You get them with Stokes in the offseason. You get it in the draft with a high pick. You get a high pick cornerback that could come in here. I mean, who doesn't think right out of the gate that Darian Porter could be just as good as Jacorian Bennett? He was taken 68th overall. Competition Pete. Pete's going to have Darian Porter and Jacorian Bennett compete against each other to see who's going to play. It's not like, oh, Jacorian Bennett's been here longer than you. He's got the job. No. Not with Pete Carroll. There's a handful of guys. Good to see Colton Miller out at practice. So there's several things happening that you should be pumped up about. The term I like to use, I'm fired up. I'm pumped up about it. Does it mean that the Raiders are going to the Super Bowl? No. But I truly believe what I'm about to say. If you believe and want the Raiders to get to the Super Bowl in the short term, that would be the next, to me, the short term, Super Bowl. Super Bowl in the next 3 to 4 years. 3 being realistic. Come on. I mean, any team can do the Super Bowl. Washington Commanders were a 4-win team, and they went to the NFC Championship game. Do not tell me it's not realistic. It is. Could it happen in 2 years? Good things can happen here in 2 years where this could be a playoff team with momentum. But it had to start with this draft class. I told you for months the Raiders would take Ashton Genty. Did I not? You didn't hear me flutter once. You didn't hear a crack in my voice. I sat here every show for 2 months and said Ashton Genty. Okay, did I get lucky? No. I mean, Ashton Genty. How did Cleveland not take Ashton Genty at 5? They need a cold weather running back. The best cold weather running back was available. They didn't take him. I was backstage with Geno Smith. I'll tell that story in a little bit. Geno and I spent a lot of time with Geno. And he's backstage with the microphone. AJ Cole's on stage. And we're looking up. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me. And Travis Hunter's in Jacksonville, and we're like, that's good. Him going to Jacksonville means that Jacksonville's not at 5 and can take Genty from us. And I'm looking at Geno, and it was not a lock that we were going to get Genty at 5, but I felt pretty good about it. And then I got a chance to go on stage and fire up the crowd. That was fun. Loved doing that. And then when Ashton came into the building, we were in the lobby with a lot of the staff to greet him. And that was fun. Wow. Had a few Modelos. Yeah, I did have a few Modelos because we're brought. Did he make the announcement? No. He didn't say anything about it. How'd Benny do?
The 5 hours good to go.
Yep. Yeah, I liked the draft. I thought that most people did, so most people liked it. Yeah, bang that like button. We're about 75 people short on that like button, please. Hammer that, please. Okay. Yeah, we'll replay the Ashton Genty interview if you didn't hear it. If you did, it was really good. I want people to hear it. We got Lance Zerline on at 1:00 Pacific. He's a good guest. And Howard Balzer, NFL Insider, going to join me. So we got a busy show. What's going on with the internet, Jay? I don't see any problem with the feed. Is everybody here good? Don't jinx the feed.
We help with safety, compliance, and inspections. Because that's what you should expect from
AC/DC was fantastic, really was. And Brian Johnson singing after he trashed his voice for 50 years, he was okay. You're only going to get a certain level of him, which was fine. Angus Young on lead guitar. I've seen everybody. I've seen hundreds upon hundreds of rock concerts. Angus Young put on a guitar. You all right?
Yeah.
Put on a guitar clinic. And then the stage show was great. The lights. And Allegiant Stadium sounded good. Yeah, I golfed pretty good yesterday. Hit a couple of bombs, man. I mean, I'm driving the hell out of the ball. I had to drive 265 yesterday, which is pretty good for me, you know, and took around a couple of corners, a couple of dog legs, and our team shot 17 under, and we didn't place in the top 5. It was a scramble. The winner, I think, shot 51, 21 under or something ridiculous, but it was good. From the stadium, the tailgater features 44 beers on tap and killer happy hour specials and gaming promotions. Plus, the kitchen is cooking up everything from shareable bar bites. Oh. Anybody think the Lakers are going to win tonight or get knocked out of this thing? My sons are Laker fans, so I'd like the Lakers to win. I got my Knicks. Playing, so I need the Knicks to win. I gotta get a new job. Truck you. Wait, what? Truck you. James Foster, excellent draft. Nice to have adults running the show. That's bullshit. There have always been adults running the show. There's always been adults running the show from Al Davison on. You might like these guys better, but that line gets overused. There's an adult in the room. They're adult. Tom Telesco was in the room last year and drafted Brock Bowers. There's always adults in the room. You just might like this group better. I think, yeah, Keith is right. Spy Tech killed the draft in a good way. I think he did great. Lakers going to Shannon.
Do you think Brady had any influence on Spy Tech's decision?
I don't know what Brady did or not. I don't know. I mean, no one knows. I mean, no one knows what Brady did, but I'm sure Brady had a lot to do with maybe these quarterbacks at the end of the draft.
That does, I mean, honestly, North Dakota State, that does sound like something Brady would do.
Yeah. And remember, Brady was taken in the 6th round. Shador was taken in the 5th.
We're just dying to get on that Shador thing.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that.
Take savings to the next level at NVEnergy.com.
Well, AC/DC.
Power Shift by NV Energy.
Not the whole show, but I'm going to couple.
Yeah.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends.
Oh, yeah, this is Spy Tech and Carol talking about Genty being not just the best player.
Yeah.
And one call holder.
Welcome back to the JT the
Yep,
Brick
it's still
Show.
there.
Brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Visit Tito'sVodka.com.
I do. It's one of those deals where it meets the need and the best player meet together, and you kind of feel like that's a perfect storm at that point too. And it's just too much to ignore at that point. He's the perfect player for us this year, and we were thrilled to make him a Raider.
I like to add that we're really excited about the running game and doing a great job of being committed and to have the opportunity to find such a dynamic player to add to all of that. It was just fit just right.
You hear what Pete Carroll said? It fit just right. Ashton Genty. How about we welcome him to the Raider Nation? Turn it up. I went to AC/DC Saturday night. Fantastic show. Fantastic. I was telling Bobby, I only try to go to good concerts. I don't throw my money away trying to say, I'm going to go see a band. No, I'm past that. Like movies. If I'm going to go to a movie and get my butt out of the house and go to a movie, I want to know it's a good movie. So I've seen AC/DC. I know what they can do. And Brian Johnson's been beating up his voice for 50 years, and he was relatively strong because they're only playing one night a week or 2 nights a week. They're not playing a tour where they're playing back-to-back shows. He's going to beat up his voice. But Angus Young on guitar put on one of the greatest rock guitar performances that I've seen, and I've seen them all, from Eric Clapton, Alex Lifeson, Joe Satriani. Go down the list. I've seen them all, every single one. Pete Townsend, double-digit times. He was just great. For to see Angus Young duck walk and come out there and bring the roof down. Every song that AC/DC did, there was a guitar solo. Plus, he did a 15-minute guitar solo. It was just great, and it sounded good. One of the biggest improvements at Allegiant Stadium when they opened up their football stadium is the sound wasn't perfect day one. How could it be? It wasn't perfect for football day one. It was very good. Now it's very good. So you don't have people walking out of there saying, oh, my God, I got reverb. It didn't sound good. It sounded great. And we had seats in the lower bowl, and we had access to the Champions Club. And there was a little area that we hung out and stood and watched the show, and it was great. My friends were blown away. As soon as we got there, my wife went out of the Champions Club because she used to work at the stadium for years doing tours, and she just wanted to look at how beautiful the stadium looked. And she ran into Brent Musburger. And she came back to get me and texted me and said, Brent's here. I took a couple of my buddies, and they took a picture. We took a picture with Brent Musburger, the Godfather. And, man, some of the stories he told, and we congratulated him on getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That was a lot of fun. And then getting in and out of there was okay. It was just a nice night. AC/DC, if you get a chance to see them around the country, wherever they're going, from Foxborough to Tampa to some of the spots along the way, go see them. That was a fun rock concert, and I really enjoyed it. But getting back to the draft, the cool thing for me was sitting and talking to Geno Smith with Eric Allen. We'll replay that later in the week. What a gentleman he was, and just a good guy who had a lot of opinions on the first couple of picks in the draft and where this thing could go and what he thinks about everything. So he was nice. And then Ashton Genty being in the building was a lot of fun. So as we look at the Raider draft tracker and you look at all the players, I'd like to get some opinions if you've seen these players play. Like Caleb Rogers, the offensive lineman out of Texas Tech. He's 6'4", 312 pounds. I never saw him play. I don't recall watching him play, but I went on and I looked at his selection and some of the video and his footwork and how big he is and how quick he is with his hand burst and all that. And that's nice. So that's a guy you're going to see play a lot in the preseason and hopefully compete for a job on the offensive line. Same thing with Charles Grant, who's 6'4", 311 pounds. So we took back-to-back offensive linemen that weigh 311 or 312 pounds, identical guys. What does that tell you? Well, John Spidek wants a big offensive line to block for Ashton Genty. And if a guy gets nicked up or hurts his knee or is out 2 weeks, you can put one of these kids in. But Dante Thornton, the fact that this kid is the fastest 6'5" combine speed performance, I think, ever, if I'm getting that right, he's incredible. And now they have a 6'5" speed guy. I think I saw this, Bobby, and if you're a listener out there, it might be in my notes, that he ran faster than Trey Tucker. Our 6'5" guy runs better than our short, deep route runner. So we got that going for us too. So I think the offense has the ability to be very explosive, extremely explosive, if they get this right. And let's take everything and bundle it into a pile. Head coach, GM, ownership, everything they've done here in the last couple of weeks in regards to football operations has been right on. So we're in the building, Eric Allen and I. We had to get there Friday after the draft party on Thursday night. I had to get there about 11. So I pulled up around 10:30. And I was the facilitator to get Max Crosby to the lobby because he was going to meet the team from the Commitment to Excellence Award. Remember, we had that banquet for Max. Not Max's foundation banquet. This was Commitment to Excellence. And they raised $60,000 for Max. So I saw Max in the meal room. They got a big meal room. And I'm back there, and it's Marcus Allen, Jim Plunkett, Fred Bolitnikoff. I mean, everybody. And Max is, having some food, some protein. I go, hey, man, can you come out? He goes, yeah, I got to get my workout in first. I said, no problem. I'll tell him to come an hour later. And right on the minute, Max came from the locker room, showered, ready. He bumped into Gorilla Rilla and Violator. They were talking for a minute. I'm like, guys, got to go. And we went out there in the lobby and presented Max a check for $60,000, gave him his actual Commitment to Excellence Award trophy to keep. And Max was fantastic. And I walked back with Max to the meal room. I said, what are you thinking? He's a big Ashton Genty guy. He was texting him before the draft and now excited about that. So Max is in a great mood. And overall, really good story there. And then when Ashton Genty showed up with his family, he was out in the meal room and he was talking to Marcus Allen. So imagine that. You walk into the big meal room and he's known Marcus. Marcus has been working and talking to him in the past. And Marcus and him take a picture on the field. It's Ashton Genty, Fred Biletnikoff, Jim Plunkett, our 3 MVPs of the Super Bowl, and Ashton Genty. And Marcus said, quote, in front of Ashton, this could be our 4th MVP of the Super Bowl. He meant it. He goes, yeah, the Raiders, if they win a Super Bowl, he could be our MVP and join the clique, join the club. That was really cool. Marcus was great over the weekend. Very humble man. Daniel in Oxnard. Thanks for waiting. You're up next.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm great, Daniel. What's happening?
Hey. Question about running backs. So are they coming back in value now? And if Pete Carroll were our coach last year or even 2 years ago, do you think we would have kept JJ since he values more of the running game? I'm just seeing because Ashton's like the second highest paid running back now. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious if we would have kept JJ and saved, a couple dollars, will we be looking at something else like a higher end LB since we lost our good one, a great one, Robert Spillane. Just curious as to know, is our running back coming back? And if so, would we be in a different situation in the round if we would have kept JJ? Because I felt like he had a pretty decent year last year, and I was just a big fan of his. So I just want to know what you think about running backs. And
we got the best running back available in years coming out of the draft period. Thank you. We got the best running back, I think, coming out in the draft since Saquon Barkley. Am I reaching? No. So this was the perfect fit, the perfect need. I don't want to go back to last year. If Pete Carroll was the coach last year, he wasn't the coach last year. He wasn't the coach last year. I don't want to be put in that situation to ask that. Pete Carroll, we got Raheem Mostert. How is he going to get on the field? Well, he's going to get on the field, and he's a good player. He led the league in touchdowns a few years ago. So he's going to be out there. No one's talking about Mostert being there behind Genty. Am I the only one talking about this? Yes. I mean, Genty can't play every play, but he's the starting running back. He's a phenom. He's going to start and be our tailback. And then you got Raheem Mostert, who's a very good player. And then the rest of the depth of that running back room is pretty strong. I think they got a pretty good running back room. Is that it? Chris in West Oakland and a guy from Oxnard. Do we have a radio show in Vegas, or should I move to Oxnard? Where's everybody in Vegas with this team? Let's go. Let's get some Vegas people in here at 920. Okay, we try to promote the station we're on to get some Vegas fans here. The running game now, I can't say it's elite. How could I say that? We were dead last, Raider Nation, in rushing. Dead last. We should go from being dead last to top 10. Dead last to top 10 in one off season. Better offensive line, clearly. Best young running back in the draft, who's going to be a big part of that offensive game plan along with Brock Bowers. And we're going to have a quarterback who's going to want to hand it off and a coach who wants to run the ball. I mean, I'd be really disappointed if the Raiders went from 32nd in the running game to 23rd. I would be disappointed if the Raiders didn't crack the top 15 in running the football, because I think they're going to do it a lot. I think that's going to be the focus of Chip Kelly's offense, is to run the ball smartly and aggressively. When you hear this Ashton Genty interview coming up again, because it was on Friday, a lot of the people here didn't hear it, he seeks out cornerbacks once he breaks a tackle. This guy wants to find cornerbacks in the open space and run them the hell over. And now we got guys going to run as fast as him, blocking downfield. That's the thing I'm most excited about. If you ask me what's the one thing I'm most excited about other than Ashton Genty, is we got 2 oversized receivers in Thornton and Besh who are going to block when they're on the field and catch the ball, but block for Ashton Genty. I mean, let's say Brock Bowers lines up at tight end, and I don't know the future of Michael Mayer. I wish Big Mike the best. But if you got Brock Bowers at tight end and Ashton Genty's running down the right side, so they're going to pitch it to him to the right, and Jacoby Myers is the receiver and he's in motion and he cracks and blocks a linebacker, and then an offensive lineman pulls, a guard pulls in front of Ashton Genty, oh my God, it's going to be, big, strong guys blocking for Genty, and then receivers doing their job blocking. I think he's going to be able to break a tackle here or there and break some big ones. I'm optimistic about that. What do you do on 3rd down and 2? You bring in Raheem Mostert, more experience, bigger, to get you the first down on 3rd and 2, or do you give it to Genty? I don't know. I don't know what Chip Kelly's going to want to do. But he's going to have wide receivers who can block on the edge, which I'm super excited about, as you can tell. Houston is out in L.A. on the Raiders app. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, JT, baby? I am pumped up, man. This is one of the best drafts we've had in a while, man. I can see at least 5 to 6 plus players that are going to be receiving a lot of time. And when I say 5 to 6, I mean that on a lighter note, because we drafted some very good players. Now, I'm not even going to say the name of the network, man, but they are comparing Genty to Maurice Jones-Drew. I think it's an insult. I mean, Jones-Drew was cool, but I think it's a straight-up insult. But all he's going to do is just go out there, prove himself, get down. We're starting to have a great defense is picking up. I like the new players that we picked up compared to the old ones. And I know you're short for time, man, because your show is hot as usual. I'm pumped up. Let's go, Raider Nation. That's all I have to say. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Look, I'm not going to sit here and compare Ashton Genty to Barry Sanders, but he was compared to Barry Sanders in college. He was absolutely compared to Barry Sanders. He put up Barry Sanders' numbers in college. So I'd be ridiculous to compare him in the pros to Barry Sanders until he plays a few years. But that was the comp. He was the comp of Barry Sanders. Maurice Jones-Drew was a really good player in this league early on. I think the world of Ashton Genty. He has a chance to be great. And I think Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly are going to put him in a good position to be great. Mark's in Michigan. Thanks for waiting, Mark. Appreciate you. Go ahead.
Yeah, JT, hey, thank you for taking the call. Yeah, I tried calling in last week, and what I was hoping would happen did, and that is that in the drafted positions that they would emphasize offense. Now, there was a good mix of defense in there, too. Mm-hmm. But I always felt that if we could get this offense in, let's say, middle of the pack or between 10 and 15 in the league with that defense, that we're immediately a playoff contender, not Super Bowl. And I just felt that they did a really nice job with a solid plan addressing the weaknesses and the needs, I should say, on the offense. And I feel like this offense is going to be pretty damn potent. I'm thinking 10 to 15 in the league is very possible. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, that's my thought with Geno Smith. Geno Smith is the type of player that could go out there and just do great things. And if he's got more weapons than he had in Seattle, which is starting to look like that in Seattle, with all due respect, he didn't have Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. He had DK Metcalf, who was a really good player. I just think the Raiders found a way to do everything right. And I was reading earlier today who wrote this power ranking. I looked through this. This article came out on the power rankings now in the NFL, which team was helped the most. And it was written by Eric Edholm, who I like a lot. And he started off with the Eagles are the Super Bowl champs. And he went Ravens. And then Buffalo was 4, Detroit 5. There's a power ranking of the league. And I'm scrolling down, having a coffee outside this morning going, okay, we're at number 10. It's Minnesota. We're at number 11, Denver. Really? Where are we? Number 13 is the Chargers. I'm like, we got to be 15. No. Then I get to 20. And it's Dallas. I'm like, really? We don't. Okay. Then I keep scrolling and I'm like, where are the Raiders? 21, the Falcons. 22, the Dolphins. Then the Colts at 23. Well, that's where I thought the Raiders would be. And I keep scrolling. 26, the Raiders in the new power ranking. I said, wow, didn't they do better than that? And he writes, if I had to select one team with the most individual draft picks that got me excited, the Raiders would be in the running for that distinction. Ashton Genty should be a star. Don't be shocked if receiver Jack Bash follows suit, and perhaps quicker than you might think. The Darian Porter pick was a home run swing at attempting to address the cornerback need. Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant helped the O-line. Even a few day 3 picks were great, including FCS standout Tommy Malott, and Cam Miller. Had me clapping at home. What's the total package look like? Who knows? But Max Crosby chose to stick around. And he might be rewarded beyond the money, of course. Geno Smith adds professionalism, and I can't wait to see Genty, Besh, and Bowers go to work together. Even the defense might not be as bad. We'll see. But there's some legit excitement drawing in Vegas. Okay, I agree with a lot of that, and he has them ranked 26th out of 32. So the Raiders have such a perception after last year losing 10 in a row, even with an A-list draft and getting Geno Smith and some good players, they got to prove it again. And that's what we do once they start putting on pads. You got to prove it. All right, I'm going to give you my opinion coming up on Shador Sanders. You don't want to miss that. Also, 2 interviews next hour. And we are brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, my #1 go-to vodka.
It's the morning tailgate.
And say what you want about agents, not everybody needs one. And they didn't.
3 minutes on the other side, and get activated if you want.
This is what we're hearing, and it's not good. You have to have the ability to listen.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to do it today.
Yeah, I want to get to it today. But that was a good idea to save Geno. And we'll play Geno later in the week, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
if you would Geno, so obviously.
Yeah.
Home of football's most notorious fans. You're a diehard.
Yeah, Thornton is the truth. I agree. Big D, who are the Raider haters there? Well, they're Raider haters out there. Mozart to be our Zach Crockett. I'll take that. I'd like to see that, Sully. Raider, who's that? Ciesco. Colt Miller showed up to practice. Yeah, he's a pro.
Aviator fans, the Tacoma Rainiers, the AAA affiliate of the Seattle Mariners, are sailing into town to face your Las Vegas Aviators. Tuesday, your Aviators become.
Yeah, JJ is really good in the short running game on top of playing defense. That's a good player.
Friday is fellowship night with the Aviators Performance T-shirt giveaway, and Saturday it's Star Wars night. Aviators baseball, easy access, free parking, great food, and good times. Life's just better at Las Vegas Ballpark. Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders.
What time's the Golden Knight game tonight?
I believe it's 6:30.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. That should remind you of Mike Evans, huh, Big D? That's high praise. That's a hell of a player, Mike Evans. I didn't see Brandon leading the final draft presser. I was doing the Bolitnikov event.
Yeah, 6:30, 5:30.
Mhm.
It's gonna get TNT thing. We're probably the late game.
Hunter Renfrow ended up in Carolina. That's kind of where he always wanted to be. He wanted to be home with family. He did. He did. That's fact. He wanted to get home, and he got home. He had a nice short career with the Raiders.
Mookie's doing top of the hour.
Yeah, my next big venture is my son graduating from college. Today's the 29th. And he graduates on the 12th. I'm kind of getting ready for that. And then I'll have my 2 sons out of college, which will be a nice goal for both of them that they have achieved. I'm excited about that.
There's going to be Genty talking about Raider Nation.
Congratulations, Messi Jesse.
Come check out River Rock Pizza and Pasta at Arizona Charlie's Decatur. We're serving up some of the best special.
I think the Lakers probably win in LA. I would think the refs are going to help the Lakers. I can promise you with that. What's up with the Boston series?
They're up 3-1. They're playing at home against Orlando today.
Yeah. Orlando. How about Miami? Did you see them quit? Ooh.
I watched a little of that last night. God.
Yeah.
I'm with Rob from Desert Springs Pools and Spas. Spring is here, which means pool season is right around the corner. Can someone still get the pool
38
built
to
before summer? Absolutely.
Mhm.
We've been installing custom pools, spas, and landscaping in Las Vegas for over 30 years. We have the experience and the manpower to go from excavation to plaster in just 10 weeks, which means you can be swimming in your new pool just in
Yeah, sad to see Vic Taper go.
Pools and spas. Go to desertspringspools.com to find out just how easy and affordable
Oh,
it
you
is
got a
to
49er
have your
inside
very
of
own backyard oasis.
Yeah.
Welcome back to
There we
the
go.
JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by the DeCasta Verde Law Group. If you get injured in an accident, call 702-222-9999.
Yeah, it's amazing. Opportunity, great community there, and great fan base. So I'm expecting a lot of fun, a lot of energy, a lot of great times.
Ashton Genty will play our sit down, Eric Allen and mine, with his. Can't wait to hear it again. I haven't heard it since we conducted it. Pretty busy week. We had a pretty busy week last night, and it's going to get pretty busy coming up here too. And then it never slows down. Whenever we get on the radio, we want to give you everything we got. Want to tell you about a brand new sponsor to the show, Astrum. Their headphones are the greatest headphones I've ever experienced. I have the earbuds and the headphones. I went out and walked the park in front of my house with the earbuds. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. Custom earbuds with different ways to make it perfect for your ear. The technology is one of a kind, and their earbuds are so comfortable. It's perfect. No drop connections. Go to astrumtech.com. They set up a deal with me for 20% off. I'm telling you, I've made my living my whole life wearing headsets. Nothing like it I've ever tried. Use the promo code JT and you'll get 20% off, which is a nice deal. That's Astrum, ASTRUM, tech.com. Use the code JT and you save 20%. Is that Kentucky Raider who's kind enough to join us? I'm assuming in Kentucky. Go ahead.
Thanks, JT. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show. Last year and this year, we got two players who are top three players in the draft. Bowers is a generational guy. I watched him in the SEC. Unbelievable. Genty's a top three talent in this draft. And, we haven't done that. I can't remember when. And here's the other thing. What I loved about this year's draft is they Spytech traded back. He and Carroll traded back twice to pick up 2 third-rounders. Mm-hmm. And that, you know what? We haven't done that forever. And he got 3 good players in the 3rd round, potential starters. It was a great move. And last thing is with Pete Carroll as coach now, there's no other team that we go up against that you can say they have a better coach than us. Our coach is as good as anybody, and the coaching staff that he's surrounded himself with. I'm fired up. That's worth 4 more wins. So I'm excited about it. I'm really happy with the way we're going. And, man, keep up the great work.
Thank you. And I agree with you. When Pete got hired and Coach Carroll got hired, we pretty much told everybody that. We said, you got a coach here who's beating all these guys. He's beating them all. So when you look at what he's been able to do in the past, you got to feel pretty good about it because you don't have a weakness at coach. And I like the other coaches. Again, the coaches who even got let go and not retained. They all had something great going for them. Antonio Pierce was an interim coach who really had the players running hard for them. You didn't like Josh McDaniels? I get it. He won six Super Bowls and called all the plays for Brady. He was supposed to have a better offense. It didn't work. He had Jimmy Garoppolo. Now we got Geno Smith and John Gruden. You know how tight I am with Coach Gruden. He had a chance to do great things here. But we're all on the same page. We're all Raider Nation. All the Raider fans that listen to the show, doesn't matter who the coach is, you want the coach to win. And with this new roster and these great young players for long term, it's easy to get behind Pete Carroll and hope that he's the right guy at the right time.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I mean, I just think that everybody should be able to go out there and be excited for Pete Carroll and hope that Pete Carroll takes the best players and gets the most out of them.
South Decatur near Russell. Nick Fattendale Industrial Hardware. Fast, easy, and built for the pros.
Another checkup? Why are so many people getting puppies? Dr. Kim's veterinary office is littered with cuteness. We are booked solid for weeks.
Give me a second, everybody. We got a big crowd here. I don't want anybody to go away. Give me a second.
She's to find extra benefits to get the pups some extra love. Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, candidates can find it easier, so you can hire easier. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
When you need cash, how quickly can LendingStore.com connect you to a lender faster than this commercial? Whether you need cash for a medical bill, groceries, or rent, LendingStore.com's network of lenders makes it quick and easy. In less time than this ad, you can fill out a few fields at LendingStore.com and find out if a lender can get you $500 to $5,000 as early as tomorrow. So visit LendingStore.com today for details. See website for details. LendingStore is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Zip Zap Auto has expanded into one of the largest independent auto repair shops in the valley. With 23 bays, over 12,000 square feet, Zip Zap is your one-stop shop, offering 24-hour smog test, oil changes, detailing, bodywork, engine, and transmission rebuilding. And Zip Zap provides free towing and diagnostics with qualifying repairs. No appointment necessary, 24-hour service. Zip Zap Auto at Cheyenne and North Durango Drive, and online at zipzapauto.com.
Welcome to Yoga for Beginners, where we say yes to less stress and no to auto loan payments.
What?
Say yes to less stress with One Nevada Credit Union's 90-day no-pay. Finance your new or used car with us, or move your current auto loan and don't make any payments for 90 days. That could be close to $4,000 in your pocket. Say no to payments and yes to less stress with One Nevada Credit Union's 90-day no-pay auto loans. Visit onenevada.org today. Federally insured by NCUA.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids.
Donate today at CarsForKids.org. That's a word with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher. Now accepting donations.
Still on? Yeah, I'm on. We're on.
Sierra Air Conditioning and Plumbing has proven that we can solve problems quickly, completely, and affordably, which is great. But we also like to prevent problems before they happen.
Yeah.
It saves you money, so you can live your life comfortably and without worry. And the way we do it is with the savings and expense membership.
Some nuts.
For sure. For $16 a month for 4 years.
Okay. When did we have him on? A week ago or two?
Week or two. I think my
Yeah.
Plumbing inspection,
Mhm.
heater flush, one diagnostic or emergency service trip for plumbing or air, 15% off repairs, and a lot more, including peace of mind all year long. Check out the long list of benefits
Okay.
at SierraCoolsLV.com or give us a call at 702-380-7099.
Yeah, I have his, I thought he had his, you have his number, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Miss the Rich Eisen Show following the morning tailgate. Weekday mornings at 10 here on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM.
Hour two. Here we go. Good hour lined up.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio.
Raiders bring a blitz. He takes it off the middle, and he's wrapped up from behind. Max Crosby.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
Open at the 35, racing to the 20, 10, touchdown Raiders.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
All right, hour number 2 of the show is we are feeding content and video on YouTube, JT the Brick YT. Please subscribe for free. I don't ask you for anything. I will not ask you for anything other than to support our partners and jump on our YouTube feed because we're trying to get that number to a number that the algorithm is close to liking. Wink, wink. So if you could do that, we'd ask you that. As we continue on, we'll have a lot of good programming coming up here. My conversation with Eric Allen and Ashton Genty this hour. Also, Howard Balzer going to join us, the Hall of Fame voter, NFL insider there. Hope you had a good week. And if you went to AC/DC on Saturday night, I'd love to hear from you on that. We're brought to you by La Casa Cigars and Lounge, proud partner of our show. They have a big announcement. They're in the process of moving next door, reopening in a new, modern, great location. I've seen it. I've walked through it. It's incredible. La Casa Cigars, proud partner of our show. Great that we could get Luke Easterling on again to recap the draft because I thought he was so good at previewing it. I wanted to get his vibe on what happened. So, Luke, I'm just going to throw out some big picture stuff. Philadelphia is the best team in football. They were just at the White House. I'm assuming they had a really good draft. Are they still the team to beat, in your opinion, after the draft in Green Bay?
Yeah, they really are. I think, again, Howie Roseman always gets his flowers for being one of the best GMs in the league, and I think he earned it yet again. Obviously, we know that Jahad Campbell slip into them had a lot to do with his injuries, but I mean, if he's able to be anywhere close to the player he was at Alabama when he was fully healthy, getting that guy at 31 is going to be fantastic for that defense. We know Vic Fangio is going to do whatever. You got a guy who's super athletic, big. He came to Alabama as an edge rusher. They moved him off the ball. So he can do all of those things. So even if he's not a full-time starter right away, he's going to get on the field on third downs and be a situational guy who can rush the passer, who can play in any situation and make a big impact if he's healthy. Andrew Makuba in the second round, I thought was a perfect safety fit for them to replace C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who they lost in free agency. Smaller guy, undersized, but he doesn't play like it. He sure doesn't play like he knows he's too small. He's flying around and hitting people all the time. I think the most intriguing picks that they made, they grabbed a couple of offensive tackles back-to-back in the 6th round. Miles Hinton out of Michigan, Cameron Williams out of Texas. I think those two guys in particular go into a team like Philly where Jeff Stoutland is there, arguably the best offensive line coach in the league. He's going to be able to develop those guys, get the best out of them, and it bolsters their depth at that premium position to where they shouldn't have to worry about that for a while. They know how to develop those guys. So, again, the rich got richer. The Philly was already, again, defending champions, and they really made their roster a lot deeper on both sides of the ball here.
What'd you think of the aggressive move by Jacksonville to go up and get Travis Hunter?
I loved it. Again, this was, James Gladstone, the general manager, who's younger than I am, which just pisses me off, by the way. But, I'm going to have to get used to that. That's just the way it's going to be. But he's been saying this whole process that they're going to be bold. They're going to, be aggressive. And they went out and did it. Again, they did it with their pursuit of Liam Cohen and making him their head coach. And they're doing it in terms of they're sitting at 5. Everything that I heard, if they stayed at 5, they were going to take Ashton Genty, which again, he would have been a great pick. He's one of the few elite players in this draft, but he's a running back, so it's not as much of a premium position. They looked at their draft capital. They said, listen, we've got 10 draft picks in this class. We think we're a way better team than the 5th worst team in the league, which I agree with. I think they're way closer to being the team that, made that incredible comeback and beat the Chargers in the second half of that playoff game a couple years ago than they are picking in the bottom 5, picking in the top 5 like they were after last season. I think they got a lot of talent on that roster. Obviously, they've already got the quarterback in place in Trevor Lawrence. And so they saw an opportunity to go get the best player in this draft. Yes, they gave up a first rounder next year, a second rounder this year, but they still came out of this draft with 9 picks. So they still have the quantity. And to me, to get the quality of a player of Travis Hunter's caliber, again, a player we've just really never seen before in his ability to play both positions on both sides of the ball at such a high level. I liked it because it signals to the fan base, listen, this is not the same old Jags. This is not the Trent Baalke years and the later Tom Coughlin years when he was in, an executive position instead of being a head coach, where they were just going to do the same things over and over again. The Urban Meyer debacle, that's all behind them now. This franchise means business, and these young, new minds that have taken over that organization are going to make really bold moves if they think they're worth it. And I think Travis Hunter's worth it.
Luke Easterling is our guest. I thought the Colts did really well with their first 4 or 5 picks, and they got a quarterback in the 6th round in Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. But to get Tyler Warren, that looked like a very solid move for them. Were you surprised he was still available at 14 before? And they got an edge rusher out of Ohio State. I like Wally, I believe the cornerback out of Minnesota. I thought Indy had some value really high in the draft that got my attention.
Yeah, those first 2 picks made the most sense to me. Wally was a little bit earlier than I was expecting, but he's a playmaker when the ball comes his way. Those first 2 picks, though, I think are really going to carry this class. Tyler Warren was the number 5 overall player on my board in this entire draft. So to get him at 14, I think was a dream scenario for the Colts. Didn't really shock me that Loveland came off the board first. I think those guys were kind of interchangeable for teams depending on what kind of scheme you run and what type of tight end you wanted. But for the Colts to get Warren in particular, because compared to Loveland, I think he's the better run blocker. I think he's the bigger, more physical guy. And I think for a team that wants to run the ball first and pass the ball second, obviously you would want to with that quarterback situation they have there. But with Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the league in the backfield, I think Warren was the better fit for them anyway. And to not have to move up and to still get, again, the best fit at that position, an elite prospect, a top 5 player in this draft, was a dream scenario. And you mentioned the edge rusher, JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State, just a complete player. I mean, again, he's one of the many Ohio State guys that could have been a very early pick last year, went back to school, that whole class did basically, because they were so unhappy with the way they finished that season the year before. They said, hey, we're all going to collectively come back. We're going to win a championship. They went and did that. And so that type of mentality, he brings that to the Indy organization. And again, he's just such a well-rounded player. He can be on the field on all 3 downs. He can rush with speed. He can rush with power. He can set the edge against the run. And he's a better athlete than I think he gets credit for. Go back and look at that pick 6 against Penn State 2 years ago, where he just like plucks it out of the air off the edge. I mean, he's a guy who can make big plays when the ball comes his way too. And I thought he was a solid value pick that fills a big need for them there.
Luke Easterling joins us, Athlon Sports, great draft insider. Packers got 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds. That's something new. They never take first-round wide receivers. They get Matthew Golden and Savion Williams here to give Jordan Love that type of skill set that he needs on the outside, guys who can run routes over the middle. And I think Golden's a hell of a player. How do you think the Packers did?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments of the first round, right? To watch Mark Murphy, the CEO of the Packers, go out there and just kind of slowly lead the fans along by telling them they were finally going to get a first-round wide receiver for the first time in 20-something years.
Yeah.
It was so fun to see that home crowd react to that. But when you talk about the player, again, Matthew Golden, elite speed, the fastest wide receiver at the combine with that sub-4 340, and he's such a great route runner, just really sharp and crisp in all of his movements. I think he's going to make an immediate impact for that team at every level. And you got a guy in Jordan Love who has elite arm strength. He's going to be able to test that speed and really take the top off the defense with those deep routes. And Savion Williams is an interesting one because he's a lot more raw. He's got a lot more development he needs in terms of the finer points to play in the receiver position. But he's a converted quarterback. He was a high school recruit as a quarterback. He's 6'5", 225, and he's got 4.4, 4.3 speed. Again, a lot of work needs to be done in terms of the technique and the route running. But, man, we just get the ball in his hands. They would put him in as a wildcat quarterback in short yardage at TCU, and they just find creative ways to get the ball in his hands. I assume Matt LaFleur is going to do the same thing in Green Bay, and I'm interested to see how he develops as just kind of a do-it-all. Not quite like Deebo Samuel. He's a little bit more physical, but, man, he's going to be fun to watch.
Luke Easterling, as we wrap it up, a lot of high draft grades for the Raiders in their offense with Genty, Jack Besh, and Dante Thornton Jr., 6'5", and his speed there. What do you think of the Raiders overall and what John Spytek did in his first draft with Pete Carroll?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a Tampa guy, so John Spytek has always had my respect in the way he, helped build the Bucs roster and one of the best front offices in the league. It was bittersweet to see him go to Vegas, but he's long deserved that opportunity to run his own ship. And if you look at the players they came away with, it looks so much like the things that have been valued in Tampa Bay for so long. So Ashton Genty, again, just as a player and as a person off the field, you talk to anybody who knows that kid. I mean, he's the genuine article, and I think immediately becomes one of the best running backs in the league. You mentioned Jack Besh, so obviously you're getting a tough physical receiver who can line up in the slot, can line up outside, do some great things after the catch, and obviously the story and the things that he's gone through, the adversities he's faced. I think that contributes to what he brings to your locker room as a leader and as a teammate. And I love the addition of Darian Porter, the quarterback. Again, John Spytek from his time in Tampa Bay a couple years ago drafted Zion McCollum in the 5th round. Very similar makeup to Darian Porter, a converted wide receiver who's still trying to learn the position, but just elite athleticism. And he's 6'3", 200 plus. With again 4.3 speed, that kind of size and length and speed at the position, it's really hard to find. So I think he got his new version of Zion McCollum in that corner. If you look at the way Pete Carroll's defenses have played in the past, they've always valued those big long corners throughout his time in Seattle, and so I think he's a perfect fit there as well.
Luke, last one. You're a young guy and you've been doing this a while now, and you're really good at what you do. So you're going to miss on a mock maybe a player or two. But what do you think about the industry in general that had a lot of people had Shador going mid-first round? There was some as early as a week ago. I heard Tom Pelissero tell Rich Eisen a week ago people were talking about Shador at 3 or at least 9 to New Orleans, and he drops to the 5th round. What lesson did you learn from it, or did you learn from other insiders who were your peers about what went so wrong with Shador?
I think honestly, if I were to put my finger on it, I don't know if anything went wrong as much as we in the media who ranked him anywhere from, in the top 50, right? If you had a first round grade on him, or if you had a second, but he was kind of, expected him to go early in that second round. We think he's a better player than the NFL does. I'll just say that. I clearly, our evaluation said, hey, this guy's maybe not on the Cam Ward level. He's clearly not on the Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May level from last year, but he's worthy of a first round pick. At worst, you take him at the top of the second. That's how we evaluated him as a player. The difference is we aren't the ones in the interview rooms. We aren't the ones that are having those private conversations where maybe if you're, there's been a bunch of reports about how he didn't interview well, or how he, handled the situation with specific teams that maybe he didn't want to play for, and how those sorts of things come off. All you can do is relay that information to defend guys like Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero, who are just kind of sharing after the fact, like, hey, this is kind of what we heard. We didn't believe it was to the extent that it was. And basically the NFL's message to Shador Sanders was clearly, listen, we don't think you're as talented as you think you are to have handled the process the way you handled it. Because I think he handled this process, he and his camp. First of all, he didn't have an actual traditional agent. So that's tough sometimes, because usually, and I saw Tom say this over the weekend, the agent is the person who is telling the player, hey, this is what I'm hearing, this is where you're expected to go. And when you don't have that guy, and all you have is people around you that are kind of hyping you up, again, they want to encourage you because you're their guy, but there wasn't anybody to kind of let him know the realism of what he was about to face on draft day, because an agent, that's their job to hear, like, hey, actually, we think you might not go until the 5th round. He didn't have anybody telling him that, and I guess neither did we. And so I think that's the takeaway. I've already seen people be like, oh, the media was wrong about Shador. I mean, we were wrong about where he was going to go as a player, but we'll have to wait and see if we were wrong about him as a quarterback in terms of the talent, because we're going to have to wait a few years to see who was right. Should he have gone in the 1st round, or should he have gone in the 5th? That remains to be seen, and that's the part that is up to Shador Sanders to determine whether or not they made a mistake or whether or not it was accurate.
Yeah, Luke, great job as always. We hope to catch up to you in the summer here and talk more. And if you have breaking news, we'll follow it and reach out to you. Great work before and with this recap. Thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure, JT. Thanks, man.
Luke Easterling, really like him. Kind of what I've done my whole career with guys that I hear for the first time on the radio, and you get a chance to have the person on, and then you say, I want to have him on again. I want to have him on again because he was good. I love doing that. That's one of the things I want to do from this stage of my career on, is bring good people on the air that get better every time you had them on. Okay, we want to get to our Ashton Genty interview. And we had Ashton on. We were first to get him when he got in the building after he had his press conference, and we were very impressed. The newest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame coming up, Eric Allen, and I got Ashton into the studio over at Raiders headquarters. The Raiders' new running back, Ashton Genty. Congratulations and welcome to Raider Nation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, what a whirlwind. I mean, I just want to talk about being on stage with the commissioner, Lambeau Field. Next thing you know, you're in Las Vegas. You got Fred Biletnikoff, Jim Plunkett, Marcus Allen there. What an experience. How's it going?
Man, it's going great. I mean, so many things happening fast. I mean, I felt like I was just on the stage, and I blink and now I'm here, you know. But it's all good, man. I'm loving it.
The fan base there in Wisconsin, what was it like? I mean, was it just kind of craziness?
Oh, it was crazy for sure. They said it was like, 200,000 people. Like, when we got on the stage, I'm looking out, and I just keep seeing more rows of people.
Yeah,
it's nonstop.
As everybody talked about where you were mocked to, and we were hoping that you'd be there, and then the Travis Hunter move in Jacksonville and all that. I mean, you're focused and you're sitting there ready to be called, but that was really unique, those first 3 picks, 4 picks before it got to you at 6.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I'm not gonna lie, once we kind of got to the Browns and, I didn't get no call from now on, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be a Raider, baby.
That is awesome, man. Well, then you're a professional football player now. Talk about all those folks who kind of poured into you, helped you out, helped you get here, your family at Boise and all those players. Talk a little bit about what that journey has been like.
Man, it's been a long journey, but, it's been amazing. I've loved every second of it, getting here. There's been so many people that helped me along the way. I mean, coaches, teammates, mom and dad, brothers, sisters, siblings, aunties, uncles. I mean, I could be talking all day about people who helped me, right? But I'm just so thankful, to be here. And then, the most special thing I think in the moment was to be able to share it with all my family, and a lot of different people who've invested in me and helped me get to here today.
I want to stay on that. Family means a lot to you in your background and how you grew up and how you worked through adversity in life. Let's stay on that for a minute and your immediate family and how they helped you along the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, mom and dad. Mom's a teacher. Dad was in the military. So gotta have good grades and for sure gotta be disciplined. Make sure you're doing something right. But not only that though, I mean, just a great foundation, but just supporting me in each and every way. I mean, they're here right now with me today.
Awesome.
So they've always been along for the ride. And then, I mean, all my siblings, I got an older brother, older sister, younger sister. They've all been so supported. Those are like my best friends, built-in best friends, growing up. You got to share everything, do everything together.
Yeah.
So I'm just so thankful for my family, and, family's everything for me.
That's so important. Talk to us a little bit about when you first start to think about yourself in this position on this stage in the National Football League. I mean, was it something you expected, like when you were younger, high school, college? What was the deal?
Yeah, I think once I started playing football, I was about 11, 12. And I knew it could be something special. But what was crazy is I always had people telling me, like, hey, you're going to be professional. I've never seen anybody like you. What you're doing. And, I'm just thinking, all right, whatever. Like, I'm pretty good. But, once I got to high school, that was when it kind of, really settled in. And, I could kind of see the bigger picture of, me getting here and then kind of focusing in and, locking in and really taking it serious.
I was up at the Mountain West Championship game in that cold game as you won and went to the playoffs. And I want to spend some time with your Boise State family. That was a big moment, not only for you personally and your teammates, for the fans to deliver a college football playoff and what that meant to the program. What a great way to go out.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, that's what we talked about all year. I mean, in the start of January, with the new landscape of college football, we knew we had a chance to do it, and we could be the first team potentially. And we put that in the back of our mind, but we didn't look too far ahead, and we took it one day at a time. But to be one of the leaders of that, and do something so special, for the fan base, the community. I mean, Boise State. I mean, it's never gonna be forgotten.
Awesome.
Yeah. What Boise, as I'm from the West Coast, and Boise's always been that school that had those players that, man, there were going to be 3 or 4 of them that you knew when they got to the league, they were going to take care of business, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little about that journey. If anyone from the university kind of helped you and schooled you on what it'd be like to get here.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of different guys. That's the cool thing about Boise State. There's a great alumni presence, and I'm hearing there's a great alumni presence here too.
The best here. The best here.
So I've seen a little bit already talking to Marcus Allen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was a lot of different guys. I mean, from when I first stepped on campus, I mean, J.L. Skinner, he's playing for the Broncos. Scott Matlock.
I coached J.L.
Yeah.
In high school. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was also talking trash to me at practice, but after practice, like, sitting down and talking to me and, saying, how we're going to need you, this different potential. George Halani in the running back room, probably one of the most important relationships that I had because, from when I first stepped foot on campus, he, was like a mentor. He took me in. I mean, he's showing me plays, teaching me up, helping me. So to have that brotherhood, and I mean, there's multiple other guys, Alexander Madison, who's, just playing here too. He's been reaching out a lot. So I've been grateful to, have all these different, players, former or, current, while I was there in my corner.
The whole thing that's going forward now with Pete Carroll, we spent a lot of time with Geno Smith yesterday. He was at the draft party. He was pretty excited when the pick was made to play now with Geno, but Brock Bowers, the offensive line you're going to get going with coming up here. It just feels like you're in the new piece that could get this offense really explosive because, Max Crosby and that defense on the other side.
Yeah, real exciting. I mean, like kind of like you touched on, there's a lot of great pieces that they have. So I'm glad to, join the attack and, be an instant asset for this offense and this team.
What's the process like for a running back when you're getting prepared for a game? That's one thing I understand, studying receivers and offenses, but what's the process for the running back, like going to the game? Do you worry about the contact? Do you worry about kind of what the defense is trying to do? What is that process on game day for you guys?
Yeah, I think, the way we did it is we took it by situational. So, going from, mixed downs, second and long, third and short, fourth and short, red zone, high red zone, low red zone, right? And then, what type of defense are they playing in these situations and, breaking those down and how we're going to attack that, right? And then just me personally, I watch every guy on the field, how they tackle, whose tackles are going to be easier to break, whose are going to be harder.
There you go. Oh, so you look up the corners. That's what you're trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to say
We
that.
love corners. But, because, a lot of times in the run game, right, there's going to be, you got to know which one or two guys you got to make miss or, break the tackles from to, make those big plays. So that's really where my analyzation goes. And, I feel it's very detailed. It has to be, especially, when the defense knows you're going to get the ball, right? So you got to be a step ahead and, not really going off instinct, but kind of knowing what's going on before it happens.
All right, last one. Here we go. Raider Nation. I mean, this is massive for you. We're so excited because you're going to get to see. You saw the alumni today. How about this building? Amazing. And now the fans, you're going to settle down. This is going to be your home. What do you want to say to the Raider Nation and these fans who are just so excited to welcome you?
Man, in the same way the fans are excited, I'm just excited. I'm already loving Raider Nation. I can't wait to make so many memories and, have such a great presence in the community. And, I've scored a few touchdowns in the stadium. So hopefully a lot more coming soon.
Ashton, thanks for doing this.
Awesome,
to your family and everyone else, thank you so much. And it's been a whirlwind. Enjoy the rest of the day and especially the weekend here in Vegas.
Yeah, thank you so much.
What a great kid, huh? How fun was that interview? You just seeing the energy come off him, how much respect he has for everybody involved in the process here. I wouldn't say cocky, but he said, I scored a few touchdowns in this building. He did against UNLV, played some fun games there, and he wants to be great. You hear what he said? Eric Allen picked up on that quickly. He's hunting down cornerbacks. He's studying corners to see when he has these breakaway runs. If he looks at the corners, hey, maybe this corner's not as good of his tackler as that one. I'll know his number and go at him. But thought it was very detailed on his part. Fantastic. Really appreciate him and what he means. Boyd Gaming, 10 casino properties here in town. Locals love Boyd and everything that they do here in town. We appreciate Ashton Genty joining us. When we come back, I've been waiting all show to go off on Shador. I'm pro Shador. I thought he got screwed. I really did. And it has to do with the national topic that I'm going to get into next. Thanks to all the bricklayers who showed up. Every day, join us on YouTube. You're going to meet good people in there, make some new internet friends. In a time like that, that's a good